My wife won $500 million in the lottery, and within 7 days, she threw me out of our own home and married the man she was secretly cheating with. She didn't even hesitate. No fight, no guilt, just a cold eviction and a text that said, "You'll survive. I need more." People think betrayal hurts most when you're abandoned at your lowest. They're wrong. It hurts most when someone leaves after they've already taken your future with them. And the best part? She didn't even win the money. I did. She just stole it first. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't expose her online like everyone expected. I disappeared. Not in defeat, but in calculation. Because what she didn't know was this. The evidence she thought she erased, the one thing she thought I'd never find, was already in my hands. And I wasn't going to chase her. I was going to let her walk straight into the storm she created. Subscribe now, because what happened next didn't just destroy her fairy tale. It proved one brutal truth. Greed doesn't make people change. It just makes them visible. And the way I took everything back without touching revenge is why people now call me the quiet executioner. Didn't believe in miracles, especially not $5 miracles from behind a gas station counter. The ticket wasn't a dream. It was a joke. She bought it half smiling, tossing it onto the dashboard like a gum wrapper. Not even worth her purse. Not even worth a second thought. Neither of us talked about it again. At least that's what I thought. What I didn't realize back then was that some betrayals aren't born from desperation, but from opportunity. And the moment most people taste even a hint of power, they don't evolve. They expose. The shift didn't start with money. It started with auditions. She began testing how far she could pull away from me without fully leaving. A delayed reply here. A redirected question there. Smiles that felt rehearsed. Phone always tilted. Locking bathroom doors like she suddenly had state secrets. Not chaos. Calibration. Most men don't lose their wives overnight. They lose them inch by inch and pretend not to notice. Then one night, she hit me with a sentence that I didn't understand until much later. She asked too casually, "Would you still fight for me if life gave me everything I ever wanted, but you didn't fit in it?" I looked up, confused. Why would everything not include me? She didn't answer, just stared, 5 seconds too long. Like she just confirmed something privately. That was the night I knew something was wrong. That was the night I did nothing. 2 days later, the winning numbers were broadcasted. The town went insane. Phones buzzing. People shouting. Every news station talking about the $500 million Powerball winner in our very zip code. She froze when she heard it. Not shocked. Calculated. I saw it in her eyes. Not, "Is it me?" but, "Can I get away with this?" That night she stayed up past 2 a.m., walking back and forth, whispering, rehearsing, not celebrating, not emotional, strategizing. I didn't sleep, but I didn't speak, because silence tells you more than confrontation ever will. Morning came. She didn't kiss me, didn't look at me, didn't even pretend, just stood beside the door, calm, still, soulless. And then, with no emotion in her voice, she said 5 words that marked the death of everything. "I need the car keys." No please. No explanation. No smile. Just extraction. Like I was already a stranger standing in her house. That was the moment I understood. She knew. She knew that ticket was real. She knew it was mine. She knew I hadn't realized yet. And most importantly, she knew she could move faster than my awareness. And awareness moves slow when love is still trying to negotiate. I watched her drive away. No tears. No suspicion. Just silence. Because I wasn't afraid of losing her. Not yet. I was still foolish enough to think betrayal always knocks first before entering. I was wrong. It was already inside. She didn't come back that night. But her mistake wasn't leaving me. It was assuming I'd stay blind forever. And she had no idea that what she was stealing already legally belonged to me. She didn't come home that night. No apology. No lie. No fabricated excuse. Just absence. Like she had already deleted me from her plans. Most people think loud betrayal hurts more. It doesn't. It's the silent, fully confident kind. The kind that doesn't even feel the need to lie. That cuts the deepest. The next morning, a luxury scent hit me when I opened the closet. Not hers. Not perfume. Cologne. That was the first time I realized. She wasn't hiding another man. She had already chosen him. And she wasn't testing escape routes anymore. She was in the execution phase. That day, the headlines went nuclear. Anonymous winner claims $500 million jackpot in Oregon. Wife seen breaking down in disbelief. Local woman says, God finally heard me. Except, I hadn't said a word. And I sure as hell hadn't claimed anything. Yet she did. Alone. Without hesitation. Not even pretending we were a team. Here's what most people don't understand about betrayal. It's not the act that destroys you first. It's that tiny second where reality catches up, and your entire past replays in a single punch to the chest. And all you can think is, she wasn't becoming this. She always was. I just kept refusing to see it. That same evening, she finally returned. Not humble. Not shaky. Radiant. A brand new car. Designer heels. Phone calls she didn't bother hiding. She walked past me like I was an Uber driver she didn't plan to rate. Dropped one line. Pack your things. Don't make this ugly. No discussion. No reasoning. Just a business transaction. As if love was a phase and wealth was evolution. I didn't argue. I didn't touch her. Didn't ask who he was. Didn't even ask why. I simply looked at her. Really saw her. For the first time without love trying to blind me. And I realized she was already gone long before she left. But here's where she miscalculated. I wasn't going to fight her emotionally. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. She had prepared for war. What she didn't expect was precision. Most people fear losing everything. I didn't, because she forgot one simple truth. In this world, ownership is proven by evidence, not emotion. So I walked out, not broken, not defeated, just aware. And the moment awareness replaces illusion, you stop being a victim. You become the storm. She thought she won. She thought I vanished. She thought there was nothing left to fear. She had no idea I was about to calmly pull the ground out from under her entire empire, using only proof. I walked out without a word, and she celebrated like the world had finally adjusted to her superiority. Champagne posts. New last name slapped onto social media overnight. Tabloids labeling her a self-made miracle. Self-made. That word nearly made me laugh. She didn't just remove me from her life. She rewrote history like I never existed. And the world believed it. Because when someone shines loud enough, the world rarely checks who paid for the light. For the next few days, I didn't confront. Didn't reach out. Didn't even let her know I had seen. Why? Because the most dangerous move you can make is letting someone think they got away with it. Meanwhile, the internet crowned her a goddess. She was everywhere. Magazines calling her a symbol of feminine strength. Influencers saying, a queen who refused to stay broken. Interviews where she said, I chose myself, finally. Chose herself? She didn't choose herself. She auctioned her loyalty to the highest bidder. But desire happens fast. Correction happens quietly. And quietly was exactly where I lived now. I didn't spiral. I studied. Rewatched everything. Not emotionally, logically. And I kept asking one question. Where's the hole she forgot to seal? Because greedy people don't cover tracks. They just sprint faster than consequences. And then I found it. Not in some secret email. Not in her stolen phone. In something far simpler. Something she didn't even realize mattered. The original purchasing timestamp. Her mistake was assuming I was clueless. She didn't realize I was documented. I still remember that moment. Not adrenaline. Not rage. Just silence. Because when you finally hold the one thread that can pull down an empire, you don't need to shout. You just need to wait. And patience is something greed can't calculate. From that second forward, she was already finished. She just hadn't seen it yet. I wasn't chasing her. I was about to corner her, without her even knowing a fight had started. And she had no idea the judge would soon call her win what it really was. Theft. Here's the thing about thieves, they move fast, but they don't move carefully. They obsess over possession, not origin. So while she was out there buying mansions and giving keynote speeches on courage, I was quietly collecting timestamps. Because the lottery doesn't care about Instagram, cares about documented purchase, cares about exact time, cares about who pressed confirm. And here's where she failed. She never checked if the system remembered me. I did. The evidence wasn't hidden. It was sitting in plain sight because only innocent people forget where they left it. A small crumpled receipt. From the exact time. From the exact store. My name tied to the exact transaction. No speculation. No guessing. Proof. And that's when it clicked. She didn't just steal a ticket. She stole a ticket that was still legally mine. Not emotionally mine. Not morally mine. Legally. Mine. On record. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. Because when justice is already guaranteed, emotion becomes a distraction. And I wasn't here for drama. I was here for correction. While she was live streaming gratitude speeches about God's timing, I was finalizing the one email that would undo her entire empire in a single sentence. To the State Lottery Commission. Not emotional. Not angry. Not even accusatory. Just factual. I am the confirmed purchaser of the winning ticket, timestamped before the fraudulent claim. I am requesting immediate ownership verification and legal intervention. No threats. No story. Just evidence. Greed screams. Power whispers. And that message was a whisper with a loaded weapon behind it. 3 days later, I got the call. A soft, measured voice from the Claims Investigations Division. We have reason to believe your claim is valid. This must now escalate to legal arbitration under fraud review. Translation. She wasn't getting sued emotionally. She was getting sued federally. I didn't warn her. I didn't even let her sense the shift in wind. Because the most surgical revenge isn't retaliation. It's exposure. And the moment she stepped on stage at a televised gala, wearing her white dress, smiling for global cameras, the news ticker slid across the bottom of the broadcast. Multi-million lottery claim under legal fraud investigation. Official owner discovered. She didn't flinch. Not yet. But her eyes, for just 1 second, moved off script. And that's when I knew. She finally felt it. The storm wasn't coming. It was already inside the building. She still didn't know I was the one who triggered everything. That was the beauty of it. Because the next move wasn't public. It was private. And she was about to be summoned, not for celebration, but for accountability. She was busy measuring curtains for her second mansion when the letter arrived. Not a text. Not a warning. Not a rumor. A court summons. Direct. Unavoidable. Federal. She didn't know I was behind it, which made it even better. Because wolves don't announce the hunt. They let the prey walk straight into the trap thinking the forest is still safe. According to leaked sources, she froze when she read the words. Fraudulent misappropriation of registered property. Immediate investigation into a legal financial claim. Translation. She wasn't being asked to explain herself. She was being accused. And here's what destroyed her mentally. The silence. The internet wasn't dragging her. No headlines had named her a thief. No scandal gossip had exploded. It was quiet. Too quiet. Which meant she didn't know what to defend against. And panic only needs one thing to multiply. Uncertainty. Meanwhile, she tried to call me. I didn't answer. Because this wasn't between exes anymore. This was between documentation and delusion. When the Lottery Commission reached out to her legal team, the conversation was devastatingly simple. We have confirmed time-stamped evidence from the rightful buyer. Your client has 72 hours to provide counterproof of original ownership. Not possession. Ownership. Ownership. That word is what ruined her. Because scammers obsess over having the thing. They rarely prepare to prove it. Her team scrambled. They checked bank logs, store footage, her own digital trail. One by one, everything led back to me. Nothing led back to her. Because here's what she didn't understand. The system didn't care who held the ticket at the finish line. Cared who started with it, officially. And that was me. Registered. Digital. Verified. No emotions attached. That night, she finally showed fear. Not publicly, she's too proud for that. But in the way silence suddenly replaced her constant noise. No interviews, no stories, no champagne toasts, nothing. Silence. Not graceful silence. Exposed silence. And I knew what was happening inside her head. Not guilt. Not regret. Calculation. Do I confess? Do I deny? Do I attack? Do I run? Except she had no angle left. Because people can escape anger. They cannot outrun. And that's when I made the move that ended all of it. Quietly, completely, in a way that didn't just reclaim the fortune. It legally erased her entire version of the story from existence. While she was scrambling behind lawyers and locked doors, imagining depositions and public humiliation, I made one final move she never saw coming. I filed for full legal correction, not conflict. Not a lawsuit for damages. Not a revenge claim. Not an emotional spectacle. A petition for rightful asset transfer based on hard ownership. Nothing more. No drama. No accusations. No narrative. Just this. I am requesting automatic transfer of all winnings, properties, and derivative assets acquired through fraudulent claim to be restored to the original verified purchaser. No debate. No moral argument. Just law. Unemotional. Surgical. Inevitable. Here's what most people don't know. Courts don't care who looks right. They care who can prove they were. Her story, her emotions, her self-made survivor online persona, all worthless in the face of time-stamped origin. And in that exact moment, she wasn't being fought. She was being deleted. From the contract. From ownership. From financial history. Legally, she was being erased from the win she stole. 2 days later, it was done. I didn't even have to appear in the room. No argument. No confrontation. No explosive courtroom scene. Just silent administrative authority doing its job. She didn't lose a case. She was simply corrected out of existence. Her cards froze. Her properties were flagged. Her Queen Energy fanbase had no idea yet, but the government had already switched off the lights. That night, she called me again. This time, not with rage. Not with arrogance. Just this. Please. I can fix this. Just talk to me. But she wasn't asking me for forgiveness. She was begging for relevance. You can recover from being poor. You cannot recover from becoming irrelevant to your own empire. I didn't reply, not because of pride, but because replying would have made it personal. And I refused to give her that dignity. This was never personal. It was simply the restoration of what was always mine. Subscribe now because the world finally finds out. And watching her try to perform innocence under public exposure was the most expensive acting class she ever paid for. She didn't cry when she lost the money. She cried when she realized she couldn't rewrite the truth anymore. The public didn't turn on her when she lost the money. They turned on her when they realized she was never the winner at all. The networks were the first to flip. Headlines went from worship to suspicion in under 6 hours. Lottery queen under federal review. Ownership fraud confirmed. Anonymous male purchaser emerges. Public hero or perfect liar? She had built her empire on applause. But applause is the fastest thing to die once the audience smells blood. She tried to play confused. Did interviews. Spoke softly. Pretended to be dignified. Played the "this is all a misunderstanding" card. But Grace doesn't sweat. She was sweating. You could see calculation in her eyes. And the public always sees desperation before guilt. By evening, a network host asked her one question she couldn't sidestep. Can you show evidence you purchased the ticket? Not held. Not claimed. Purchased. Her answer wasn't silence. It was worse. Stalling. She glanced at someone off camera. Blinking. Pulse visibly rising. And that's when the internet switched from fascination to forensics. Comments flooded in. Why didn't she answer? Notice how her breathing changed. Did she just look for permission before speaking? Something's off. And in less than 3 minutes, 1 million people stopped seeing her as lucky and started seeing her as guilty. That's when it happened. The next headline hit like a bullet. Legal directive issued. Full ownership transfer approved. She wasn't accused anymore. She was over. Live. Public. Irreversible. What broke her wasn't losing the money. It was losing authorship. Her identity. Her myth. Her performance. Gone. She looked at the camera. The same way an actor looks when the director yells cut mid-scene. And they realize there is no retake for reality. My phone lit up again that night. Not with her. With the world. Articles. Requests. Interviews. Publishers. Documentaries. All wanting one thing. Your side. But I didn't speak. Not to them. Not to her. Because you don't step back into noise. After winning in absolute silence. Because some people don't fear bankruptcy. They fear irrelevance. And I let her drown in exactly that. I didn't seek her out. She found me. Not in court. Not through lawyers. Not surrounded by cameras. She approached me in a place where she never thought she would stand. In the quiet. Without an audience. No makeup. No branding. No curated victimhood. Just a woman who no longer knew who she was without approval. She stood there, hesitant, like she was approaching a judge, not a man. And for the first time since all of this began, she looked small. No arrogance. No entitlement. Just fear. But not fear of consequence. Fear of irrelevance. She didn't apologize at first. She pleaded for identity. Can we just talk? I need closure. I need to be understood. Not forgiven. Understood. Because people like her don't fear losing wealth. They fear losing their narrative. I let silence answer. She kept going. You know me. I'm not a monster. And that was the moment I realized. She still didn't get it. Because real monsters almost never know they are. Finally, she broke. No script. No audience. No title left to defend. Just raw desperation. What happens to me now? That was the first honest question she had asked since everything started. And I only had one answer. Whatever truth allows. That was it. No revenge speech. No moral lecture. No emotional satisfaction. Just reality. Because truth doesn't need anger. Truth doesn't need noise. Truth just erases what was never real. She cried. Not loudly, but like someone who had finally seen the full shape of themselves for the first time. Not guilty tears. Recognition tears. And I walked away. Not in cruelty. In completion. Because closure is not confrontation. It's neutrality. For the first time since she left, I felt nothing. No hate. No victory. Just stillness. And in that calm I finally saw the actual win. Not that I took everything back. But that none of it changed me. My revenge was never money. It was proving loudly, permanently, that grace ages better than greed. And what I built next wasn't a comeback. People assume victory is loud. They expect fireworks, confetti, a stage. But the real win isn't noise. It's entering a room you once weren't allowed in, and realizing you don't even need to be noticed anymore. I didn't disappear after it was over. I advanced. Not on her timeline. Not to prove her wrong. Not to post a dramatic comeback online. But to build work that outlives ego. I invested quietly. Strategically. I learned. I moved. I expanded. Not into luxury. Into legacy. I didn't start charities for applause. I funded opportunities for people who were written off like I once was. I didn't make a revenge empire. I built a rebuild empire. And every person I helped rise, without ever mentioning my own scars, was the loudest statement I could have made without speaking a word. See, some people spend their second chance trying to delete their past. I didn't. I evolved beyond it. Because peace isn't erasing what happened. It's standing above it without flinching. I heard rumors about her eventually. The downsizing. The silence. The people who once cheered her name. Moving on without hesitation. Not because they hated her. Because the world doesn't hate deception. It simply gets bored of it. And that's when I finally understood. Revenge is temporary. Restoration is permanent. I didn't win because I punished her. I won because I never became her. I never let greed rewrite me. I never let pain make me theatrical. If there's one truth I carry now, it's this: the loudest power isn't revenge. It's composure. The kind that doesn't scream. The kind that doesn't demand to be seen. The kind that simply cannot be moved. Because in the end, greed dies fast. Rage burns quick. But grace? Grace ages like iron. Untouchable. Unbreakable. Final. And I didn't just survive what she did to me. I became untouchable because of it. That's the end. Not of the story, but of the war that never needed violence to be won. And I never needed the world to know I won. Just the truth.